Hey guys, so I get the distinct feeling that the mass awakening that many of us have been hoping for quite some time is happening right about now. So if you follow your excitement for long enough or embark on the spiritual path with enough dedication, and I do feel very naturally this idea of following your passion, following your excitement is filtering down into society, into the mainstream. So the danger of this is that you're liable to have a peak experience. Danger joking, it's epic when you have a peak experience. So I like the term peak experience because it talks to the masses more, and I kind of feel like I'm talking to a new breed of an awakening beings who don't really want to use the spiritual terminology and don't really want to be associated with all us fringe people. So I like the term peak experience because I feel it talks to the masses, talks to the regular, to the layman, but not the layman anymore because everyone's waking up. And so I don't think it's everyone's going to wake up. I think we're hitting a new wave. I talked about this a little while ago, but the idea that a lot of people are going to wake up, and particularly those people that have been drawn to the idea of following your excitement, following your passion. So what happens when we begin to get into dedicated spiritual work, when we really put some dedication into following the spiritual path, or begin to follow our highest excitement to the best of our ability, live our excitement, live our passion, which so many people in humanity are doing now. At some point your frequency rises and rises and rises and rises, and you have a kind of breakthrough, and you have what we might term a peak experience. Like in the past we might call it an awakening, or going back even further into the past we might call it grace. But I like the term peak experience because it points to what it is. It gives the idea that it's just a very great experience. And so I really do feel right about now people are going to be having peak experiences and having breakthroughs into higher states of consciousness, when all of a sudden everything seems to kind of lighten up. All of a sudden you kind of go, whoa, it's almost like it slows down. You become hyper aware of your surroundings, what's going on around you. Everything looks like paradise. You feel like you're in paradise. It's the most amazing experience you probably ever had in your life. And so what I wanted to talk about though was that kind of the pitfalls and the traps that you can fall into from here. When I had my peak experience in 2009, I spent years trying to get back to the same experience, trying to rekindle that same experience. But the issue is, when you're desperately trying to rekindle the peak experience and get back to that state of consciousness, it tends not to happen. It tends seeking the peak state, seeking the peak experience, it tends to block it from happening. So is this annoying? Yes, this is very annoying. Can I do anything about it? No. Seems to be up to God, unfortunately. So there's definitely some idea to it, and I used to find this frustrating when I was learning about the spiritual journey. Like people say you can't do anything to initiate a spiritual experience. You can't make yourself awaken. It seems to happen due to a higher consciousness, due to some circumstance outside of our own control. And there's definitely some truth to that. But the thing is, when we're following excitement, we're constantly raising our frequency, constantly raising our vibration, and at some point kind of God seems to meet us halfway. It's we can do everything we can from our side, but it seems like our higher self, or God if you like that term, or source consciousness, seems to have the final say. And ultimately we are God, and ultimately we are source, because there's no separation in creation. But because from this human perspective, I'm not God from down here. I'm still like Jonathan to some degree, and there is this kind of individuation and autonomy, and I don't get to choose when I go into peak states. Otherwise I'd be in a peak state 24 hours a day probably. Although actually it does kind of burn out your nervous system, but that's for another video. So this is part of it, preparing the vehicle, but that's a whole nother topic. But really what I wanted to do, guys, was give you the heads up that chasing these peak experiences is not a good idea. And you probably won't listen to me. It's kind of inevitable that once you've had one of these breakthroughs and these peak experiences, when you go into ecstatic bliss and you feel like you're in paradise, you're gonna keep chasing it. It's kind of the human nature to seek pleasure. So it's probably not going to do you any good to listen to this video. It's probably not going to stop you from seeking those experiences. But I just will give you a heads up that when you're really desperately seeking these peak experiences, like I was for years and years and years after my experience in 2009, they tend not to come. And it was really many years. And I think I had kind of another breakthrough in 2012, but it was very different. That was into a very Zen peace state, not this kind of ecstatic bliss and feeling my soul in this body. And so when they do come, they tend to be different, and every peak experience tends to be different, so you don't know how it's going to happen and you don't know what's going to come. So it's really just a heads up video to some of you guys that are like really starting to follow your passion, follow your joy, and perhaps have some peak experiences. Who knows? Maybe like partying in Ibiza or something. That like you just kind of got to get on with your life. Just continue following your excitement. Continue like to try and live your life with integrity. You know, do the right thing. Be a nice person. Live from your heart. Help the old ladies across the road. And the more you do this stuff, and the more you just live in the moment and just live life for what it is in the moment, the more likely you are to have more peak experiences and actually begin to integrate that consciousness into your being, so you can live more like this kind of HD reality, as I sometimes call it. Watch my next video. More often and perhaps all the time. So that's my heads up, guys. So I shall see you all in another peak state in the now. Maybe. Shivai.